I'm so pleased on how this turned out. I ended up with my measurement being about 54 inches wide by 72, almost 73 inches long. I think it was 72 inches long. And I love the border blocks that we came up with that goes around all four sides that DJ created. So now we're ready to bind it. Now, before you bind, I'm going to tell you something that I learned the hard way. Remember, these are all done in the hoop, these blocks. And so you had a placement line of giving you a cutting line and a stitching line. Well, so when I did one of these a long time ago, when I first came up with this technique, and DJ had created some blocks for me and we were playing around with it. And I bound it all, and when I got all done, I had my stitching line showing all the way around because I had that 1/2 inch. So what you're going to need to do when you sew your binding on, you always sew 1/4 inch, right? So you need to trim off, leaving 1/4 inch or shy of 1/4 more than 1/4 inch, so that you don't have any stitching showing. I had to unpick all that out, and that's not really a lot of fun to do. Okay, so don't forget to trim off your outside edge. Don't leave that 1/2 inch and have just a little less than 1/4 inch. All right. Okay, now normally I cut my binding either 2 1/4 or 2 1/2 inches, depending on the thickness of the batting. Well, I'm going to tell you, I was sweating bullets on this because I didn't think I was going to have enough of my banana color silk du peony to bind this. So I've had to cut mine 2 inches. I would not normally do that, and I don't recommend doing that. I would at least have 2 1/4, and I really like 2 1/2 if I'm using a thicker binding. And this is, or batting, this is not very thick. So I'm going to be okay. I've tested it to see, but don't go anything less than 2 1/4 inches. Now I had to have 6 strips, the width of my fabric, in order to get my 238 inches to go around this and then have enough to overlap. And since I'm using silk, I did put the Dreamweave Ultra on the back because this stuff just frays horribly, and to give it a little more extra body. So I'm going to put this away, or maybe I'll just fold it up here for a minute. I had 6 of these strips. And again, I told you I put the Dreamweave Ultra on the back. Mine are only 2 inches wide. Don't cut yours any less than 2 1/4, all right? I've already gone ahead and sewed 5 of the strips together, and I'm gonna do the last one so I can show you how I do it. I put right sides together, and let me trim off my Dreamweave Ultra here. I put right sides together, and notice how I'm placing them. Can you see that, Jackie?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're placing these at a whole different ball game here. So, and a lot of you have already done binding before, so this is probably old news. This really is the best way to do it, so that when you open it up, it looks so much nicer. Now, if you can get it through your head when you do binding, you're always going to sew left to right. So you're going to start at the left corner, and you're going to sew this in a diagonal. And if you need to, you can draw you a line. And always test it before you trim it off. So it opens up and looks like this. You're going to cut these, leaving about a 1/4 inch seam, and then we're going to press our seams open, and then we're going to press all of the binding in half. So let me go finish this part, and then we'll be back. I'm going to use my 1/4 inch foot So I'm going to put my 1/4 inch foot on, and on my machine I have to move my needle, and so I'm going to move it over. All right. Okay, so let's take one of the ends here. We're going to sew this on the wrong side. So let me flip this over. I'm so happy with the way this turned out. I think it's just beautiful. And the cool thing about it is, when I bind it, I'm done. The quilting's all done. And I saved myself about $300 at least to have this, not have to have it quilted. All right. I'm going to start on a side. And I'm going to come about halfway down. And I'm going to leave about 5 to 6 inches of binding. Now I have a guide on mine to show me where my 1/4 inch is. And I'm going to leave my needle down. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to do a corner for you and show you how I do my corners. So we'll probably turn this off for just a second and then come back when I get close to the corner. I'm almost down to the corner. I'm going to sew down, leaving about 1/4 of an inch. And I don't back tack or anything. And if you go too far, it's easy to take a stitch. All right, we got to turn this now. And I'll try to not block the camera here. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to take your binding and you're going to flip this back to form a triangle. Now the object of this is that this is a straight line and even, all right? Now, this little tool, the stiletto, there's no way I could do binding without it. Now, if you're new at this, you might want to use your stiletto and put it here and then fold this back. And again, that fold is even with the side. So now we're going to start and get thread untangled here at that end and go down to the other. Now another thing I'm going to tell you is that you always want to keep your binding taut, all right? I'm not saying stretch it, but keep it nice and taut. That way your quilt will lay so much better. All right, let me go across. When I get to the other side, we'll come back on and I'll show you how to do another corner again. So here I am again, another corner. Show you one more. So I'm going to leave 1/4 of an inch, give or take, because you're not back tacking, so it's really easy to pull it back to what you need. Okay, now I got my machine rethreaded. So I can take now and fold this at a triangle, flip it back, and remember the whole object is to have this in a straight line, and I'm going to turn this around and start sewing again. All right, I'm going to go ahead and finish this to the point of joining it. Then I'll come back and show you how to join it. So I've gone all the way around, and as you can see, I didn't have a whole lot left, and this is all of the fabric I had. That's why I was sweating bullets so bad. Okay, so I've left, I don't know, that's probably 8 inches or so in between. So I'm going to bring these over, and I'm going to take and fold one of them back. And again, where you've pulled it taut, make sure you pull it taut again. And I'm just going to stick a pin in there so it doesn't move on me. Okay, I'm gonna do the other one. I'm gonna leave about a 1/2 inch in between. No, I don't measure. I've done this so much, I just know to eyeball it. That needs a little more, about maybe right there. But if you feel more comfortable, I would definitely measure it. Okay, so let's just see if I'm right on. Right on the money, 1/2 inch. I've done it so much. Okay, I'm gonna stick another pin in here just to hold it so that I don't lose it as I cut it. Now I'm gonna cut each flap off, leaving 1.5 inches. Maybe I won't be cutting this side. It's exactly 1.5 inches. Well, that was lucky, okay? So we're gonna go to this side and make sure you just cut through the top 1.5 inches. Oh, I got these really good scissors here. Okay, I'll take my pins out now. Now here's the trick when you do this. Always have where you're gonna join next to you. And I'm gonna try to get this here so you can see it on the camera. So we still have the wrong side up. I haven't trimmed all my threads off the back yet. So if you're thinking, oh my gosh, Debbie, what's all these threads? I haven't done that yet. I figured I could do that and watch a movie. All right, here we go. Always have it next to you. Open both of these up so they're nice and flat with the right side up. I'll do it one more time. Open both of these up so the right side is up facing you. Take the one on the right side, flip it towards you, and then go on top just like you joined all of your binding. All right? So you had them both opened up. You flip the right one towards you. So now the wrong side is up on it, but you've got to flip it towards you. So flip it towards me. Put them on top of each other. Just how you joined your binding. Now you may feel more comfortable in putting a pin in there. I don't normally, but since this thing is so big and having to move it, I'm gonna stick a couple pins in here so that they don't move on me. And what did I tell you earlier when you join? Always sew from left to right. So I'm gonna sew that just like I did my binding. I don't change my foot back. If you feel more comfortable, you can. And I don't know if Jackie, you're blocking your view here, I'm sure. Okay, so from left to right, and I'll hold it up as soon as I get it sewed here. Don't sew over your pins, whatever you do. Find my point. And again, if you feel safer in drawing you a line for triangle, okay, so we did it just how we did our binding. Now I'm going to trim that off to 1/4 inch, give or take. I'm going to finger press it open. Again, I would always test it before you trimmed it off. I'm just so sure myself that it always works. So finger press this open. Then open up your seam and come back and sew the rest of it across. And you can see it fits absolutely perfect. All right, let me do that, and then I'll come back and show you how what we're gonna do next. So what I've done, I've got the wrong side up, and I'm going to take my binding and press it out all the way around. And of course, you can only get up so far to the corner. Just go as far as you can. And then start and go across the other way. All right, I'll do this and then I'll meet you back at the machine and show you what's next. So you can see pressing that out, now it lays flat. And again, I don't recommend you do 2 inches because this is pretty tight, okay? That 1/4 inch makes a big difference. And I normally do mine 2.5. All right, I'm gonna fold this over. And again, this is where that stylus, I just can't even imagine doing anything without this. I have got my regular foot on now. I have a straight stitch, and I've bumped up my stitch length just 1 push on my machine, okay? Now, this won't mean anything to you because every machine is different, and I'm on my 980Q, which is a Viking. Okay, so I'm going to sew along that edge. I'm going to fold this over just to my stitching line. And when I come down here, I'm going to show you how we're going to miter this corner. They just go in beautifully, and really beautifully if you have that extra little bit on your binding. I can see where my stitching line is, and so I just bring that folded edge over just to that stitching line. And by doing that, it'll look really good on the back too, because your stitching will stay right on your binding, okay? Let's cut this thread off. But you can see how good it looks. Okay, so we're almost down to the corner here. And I got this big monster thing to work with. I take my finger and I pull the binding down. Then when I get down far enough, I'm going to use my stylus to hold it, stiletto, whatever you want to call it, and flip the other side up, making a miter, and then I hold it. Of course, I'm not going to hit it with the needle, but I'm going to hold that, whoops, I lost it here, so let's put this back up here. So fold that up and hold it with your stiletto, stylus, I don't know. Every time I call it something different. Okay, leave the needle down and turn it. Then I'll show you how beautiful this looks. And one thing about it, if you have any stitching that shows, it's very easy to take it out, because I have some pink and I'll have to maybe take a little bit out. I'm trying not to block the camera here, but but this thing is so big. Let me sew down a ways, then we'll show you what it looks like. Oops. Sorry, Jackie. I've got one here that I caught my binding, so I'm just going to clip it and fold it back. All right, I'm going to have Jackie zoom in. And you can see what this looks like. Now, I've got some pink thread right here showing stitches, so I'm just going to take my trusty little scalpel that I'm in love with. I can't imagine not having this to do ripping out, and get rid of that. And it's just going to be just that one little place right in the corner. And to some of you, it may not bother you, but it bugs me, so I'll take it out. So you can see how good that looks. So I'm going to go ahead and go all the way around, doing the same thing. A lot of times I'll do a really tiny blanket stitch. That's really cute too on your binding. So I hope everybody makes one of these. We've had so much fun creating this, and thank you so much for purchasing this, and enjoy, and send us pictures. We love to see the finished project. When I get this all done, Jackie will take a picture of it and post what it looks like. So thanks so much.